Support the Amigos podcast and keep the Amiga goodness flowing for just $1 a month. Visit our page at patreon.com/AmigosPodcast.
Amiga, the first personal computer that gives you a creative edge.
Amigos, the podcast about everything Amiga. Amigos is a proud member of the Throwback Network, your home for quality retro podcasts. And now, here are your hosts, Aaron Dowdy and John Bodovkar Schaller.
Hello and welcome to the Amigos. I'm Brent, filling in for John this week. With me I've got Amigo Aaron.
How's it going, eh?
Today we are going to be taking a look at Jurassic Park, but first, a little bit of the news.
Sure. Well, right off the gate, we're going to talk about what we've missed in the past week. Now, me and Boat, our show last week was pre-taped.
Ooh.
So we did not know what was going to happen after the Amigathon. Little do we know. And so this week we will also talk about that in depth. But first, let's get some stuff we've missed in the past week. So, right out of the gate, Dreamcatcher had an article up, and it's called "A Rolling Stone is Worth Two in the Bush." This is a Dreamcatcher special highlighting a game called RoboCop 2. You ever played RoboCop 2?
No, I think I've only played the first one for the computer, for the Amiga.
Well, it's a pretty good game. It's Dreamcatcher's article is always top shelf. It's a good read. We've also, since we've been gone, I don't know if we talked about. We're way behind. I can't remember if we talked about ARG, the Odyssey version that was a couple weeks old. So if you haven't caught that, we took a look at the Odyssey 2. Took a look at a couple great games, Time Lord and Looney Balloon. And we've got some more Odyssey 2 news, which I'll get to in a minute. But I wanted to mention that in case we've forgotten. Well, while we're on it, speaking of the Odyssey 2, one of the highlights of Amigathon was a release, a special Amigathon release, Brent, of a game that's near and dear to our hearts. It was a port by the great Gary James of KC Munchkin from the Odyssey 2 to the Amiga. Now, KC Munchkin was never released on any other platform.
No.
And it was it was almost certainly the most popular most popular title for the Odyssey 2.
Yeah.
And it was a hell of a good game. It trumped Pac-Man on the home consoles for years.
Oh, yeah, certainly.
And Gary did a tremendous job with this new version. Not only does it have enhanced graphics, but if you hit the space bar at any time, it reverts back to the original graphics, which is great.
That's awesome.
It's great.
That's
it's well done. Of course, Gary also has done killer beats, and I found out this week by getting on how this got past me, or if I mentioned on the show, I just didn't remember it. He also ported over Attack of the Time Lord a while back. So he's actually got
I'll
3.
have to check that out.
So we'll probably, coming up here soon, I'll probably do some sort of Amiga Odyssey retrospective. But Gary's cranking them out. This is great stuff. He branded it with the Amigathon, which was real nice of him.
Yes.
And it's a free game. You can download it now.
Which is incredible.
Yeah, if you go to the Google Plus, you can. Chris Folds has the link up there, so definitely something you want to check out.
Now, what all Amigas does that run on?
Yeah, I think it runs on everything.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
I think it runs on everything. I'm gonna see what the statistics are. Here's what it runs on. I'm pretty sure it runs on everything though. But yeah, it runs perfect. I mean, it's a great port. So you should definitely check that out. So Dreamcatcher has another article up that popped since we were gone, where he takes a look at RoboZone. Now this is I never had a look at this game.
I don't know. I don't think I'm familiar with that.
It looks interesting, and he gives it the full treatment. So if you're in the RoboZone or just like Dreamcatcher stuff, who wouldn't? It's one to look at.
Yes.
You not played it either?
No, I have missed that title. But I mean, if he's taking a look at it, I'll go take a look at it too.
Yeah. I guess we should also mention that this week's ARG is we looked at the Apple II, didn't we?
Yes, the long historic Apple II.
Yeah, and we took a look at a couple buttes this week. We took a look at the Rocky Horror Show, the game, and the classic, timeless Castle Wolfenstein, the original.
Yep.
And so if you're into the Apple II or just into those old games, because they translated fairly similarly on the other ports. Rocky Horror, I think, always supported the C64 and I think that was the only one.
Spectrum, the Amstrad.
Oh, did it have? Oh,
yeah,
there you go.
it had a lot of ports.
Wolfenstein had a couple, so it's worth a look. This popped while we were out. There's a fellow that is reimagining or updating the Great Guyana Sisters.
Oh, really?
Yeah. There was an update a while back called the Great Guyana Sisters Special Edition. This is an update to that. Now, I recall having a look at the original one, and it looked good. Guyana is a pretty popular, sort of iconic Amiga game that everyone plays and loves, so definitely worth a look there. Let's see if I get anything else. Oh, yes, of course. Dreamcatcher has a lot going on this month, so he's got another look here. Give me Mr. Fuji and Paper Mache, a.k.a. a look at Leander. It's a Psygnosis game. This one I do recall having a look at it back in the day, but it's been a long time. Psygnosis almost always means a certain level of gloss, and sometimes it means a lot of quality. But I honestly don't remember if this was a particular title that was a favorite of mine, and I don't recall it very well, so I'm guessing it probably wasn't. But
that is another one that has slipped by me through the years.
Now here's an odd one. Dreamcatcher had a look. He had a look at the Amazing Spider-Man in an article called Spider Fanfiction. Now he actually looked at it on YouTube, and his video, for whatever reason, it was banned. I don't know why.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it won't play here, and I was told it won't play in England either. So, for whatever reason, I don't know what he's got. You never know with their Dreamcatcher what he's got in there. So he posted the script up, and hopefully he'll get that to a point where we can actually watch it somewhere. So,
right.
Pretty wacky. I think that's pretty much the long and short of it. I will say a special thanks to Daniel. He brought to my attention someone selling an Amiga 1200 PAL game or PAL motherboard, which I was looking for, but this was a little bit out of my price range. I think it's pretty pricey. These things they usually go for quite a bit of money these days.
Yeah, I would imagine so.
I would sure like to have one to stick in my black case so I can play everything, but I'll find one eventually.
Well, it's one of those things. Someone's going to sell one and no one's going to notice, and you're going to slip in there and grab it on the cheap, or they're going to spell Amiga wrong, or yeah.
I don't think so. If you're just selling a PAL motherboard or any motherboard for the Amiga, you probably know what you're doing. So, let's talk or address what went down. An Amiga-thon recap, if you will.
Amiga-thon was incredible.
Amiga-thon was quite a show. It had its ups and downs, but in the end, we had a very good turnout, and we had a very charitable listening audience.
Yes,
and they donated when it was all said and done, and the smoke cleared. We had raised $2,748 U.S. dollars.
That's incredible.
A princely sum.
That is incredible.
I recall last week mentioning that I thought it might raise, what did I say, 2,050, and Boat said 2,500, and I sort of laughed at Boat. Little did we realize it would raise more than both of us predicted, and it was very. Listen, and Brent was there for a big chunk of it as well.
That was about half of the 24
We had
hours.
a lot of people there.
We did. There was a lot of people came through and was supportive morally or John, really hooked us up kept us fed through the entire thing.
Yeah, special thanks to Pizza Hut. We
had
a lot
of
Papa John's. Papa John's. I did that last week, didn't I?
No thanks to Pizza Hut. They didn't do anything.
Yeah,
they laughed at us and mocked us.
Everyone that
also Papa John's is better.
Everyone that donated, we really appreciate it, don't we, Brent?
Yes, yes.
But like I was getting to before, we were just a few dorky dudes in a basement. We just happened to be there for a long time, and people really came through and donated a ton of money, and it was great. Now, we had some real highlights of Amigathon this year, including finding some really interesting games.
Yes,
I was impressed.
for sure.
Right before you got there, we played sort of a platformer called Yo-Jo, which I thought was a G.I. Joe game, but you actually play like a 50s greaser. And it's got simultaneous 2-player. That game really surprised me as being particularly a fun game. We led the show off with that. We also we played a ton of stuff. If you watch the show, we played pretty much everything. I'd say we hit the wall right about It Came from the Desert. Really, that was this year's Shadow of the Beast. We just hit the wall on that, and that's when it turned a little south. But
a little loopy.
Yeah, but the event was not without its tribulations.
Dramas.
Yeah, about I'm thinking 4 hours or 5. That's about 5 hours in.
About 5 in.
We lost our stream, and we couldn't figure out what was going on. Well, luckily we had Brent and John there, and Boat and myself, and we figured out after some tweaking and fooling around that the cable modem had blown up.
Died completely.
So poor old Boat jumped in his car, drove across town to, I guess you could say that.
Yeah, for him.
Across
certainly.
the town and countryside to the nearest Walmart, bought a new cable modem, ran it home, and he pulled in the driveway. The original cable modem sprang
back into life.
And so we thought, well, heck, we're golden. He could take that back. We broadcast about another, half hour?
It was 20-25 minutes, yeah.
And then it died of death.
And this time it died hard, yeah.
And so it was time to hook up the new cable modem. No easy feat. We had a heck of a time getting our local cable outfit to figure out how to get the modem hooked in.
It was partially them saying, "Oh, you can just do it online," which then of course we tried to do online, and when we called back in, they were like, "Oh yeah, that online stuff only works about half the time." It's like, well, we had already called you the first time. Why didn't you just help us out? But we got there.
Yeah,
we got there. And really, after that, it was, for the connection-wise, it was stable and smooth.
It was smooth sailing, but we lost about, I think it was not quite 2 hours.
It was right at that 2-hour mark,
of broadcasting. Now, we were still at it, but we just lost that time. And we were actually still receiving some donations even during it, which was nice.
Pity donations.
What I wish I had done is the second the modem died, I wish I'd taken a nap, and then I would have been more prepared to go to the rest of the event. So once that was resolved, we were back up and running. It did run smoothly for the most part. We had a few games that caused us trouble, so we had to switch around between various different emulators and the Xbox and the original Amiga. There were a few times where we had to actually go and have someone that was listening to the show send us the file we needed to have it at least once.
I'll have to say, considering that we were trying to play as much stuff on the original Amiga as possible, which I would say about a third was off the original Amiga, captured and streamed. I think it went pretty well.
I think it went okay.
Considering we were switching between 3 systems, and yeah,
it went okay. I will say, I felt like I got more out of the games this time around.
Yeah. I know I got to play a lot more for the 12 and a half hours I was there.
It's funny, the first 12 hours of this thing, they blew right by. It went like a shot, with the exception of the downtime. And I was like, man, this is going to be a piece of cake. Man, I'm telling you, y'all, once you hit about hour 16 or so,
that's when it starts to hurt.
That's when you're like, holy smokes, I've still got how long to go? I've got another 8 hours. Holy mackerel! And it was we managed to get through it. And I will say that last couple hours where Boat was up just out of gas, I was out of gas. We got through.
That's when you get into Loopy Town.
So.
Yeah. Then the aftermath.
The aftermath is actually sort of more interesting than the actual...
Well, I don't know about more interesting.
I don't know. It's pretty interesting. So, immediately, I went home and went to bed. And it was... but I couldn't sleep. So, I was awake till 10 a.m. So, I ended up being up for 29 hours or so. Not good. And... Boat, I guess, went to bed, got up, and had a family outing. I think it was like the next day, up in a place called Weston. That's where the famous insane asylum, or the Weston Mental Hospital is up that way. But anyway, that's not why he was up there. But so I ended up being so beat down and tired that I just didn't go to work Monday. I called in for work, called in legitimately sick. I felt like hell on wheels. And I thought, man, I've really got it rough. Well, I didn't know how bad Boat had gotten it. Well, I guess I should say, before Boat went to his family gathering, he called me up and said, listen, my computer won't come on.
Yeah, John and I troubleshot that for probably a total of about 4 hours, trying different things, and it was just... We're pretty sure at this point it's a failed motherboard.
Yeah,
but then things got worse.
Yeah, so he tried a motherboard in memory that I thought maybe the video card went out on it, because you got to consider. And I hadn't thought about this, and I don't think anyone did at the time. It's funny watching Amigathon back because he often refers to his trusty computer, and I'm thinking to myself, that piece of garbage. But anyway,
it's not garbage.
But but I never thought about it. But with the cable modem, man, when you're broadcasting. Boat at one point was broadcasting like 3 or 4 different places, like Facebook, Twitch, YouTube.
Well, that's when modem was
but he cut that out after a while because he thought that was part of the trouble with the modem. But when you're broadcasting perpetually for 24 hours, you're putting a hefty load on any video card or computer or cable modem, which I never thought about it really until it happened. I was like, yeah, and that would put and that's a lot of. The way Boat was running this thing, there was a lot of crazy apps running, or applications running in the background,
transitions and stuff.
Jason Warrens had written for us, and some other, and so it was all kinds of crazy stuff. So the computer was running pretty hot, and so I'm guessing that's probably what killed it and the cable mode, just about the sheer amount of throughput of high definition video going out. It probably just fried it.
I don't think that's it, but I mean, regardless, it's down now.
Yeah. So anyway, Boat. So I said, we'll look at it when you get back. He took off. Well, then I get another note from the Boat, and he is in the hospital.
Yeah.
He had to go in for an emergency surgery for what was it he had?
Hernia.
A hernia. That he had woke up in mega pain, and so he had to go in and have emergency surgery. So as we speak, Boat's been on the shelf now for... since about Wednesday, and we're recording. So this has been about 4 days, and he can't drive a car at all.
No, he's completely down
for 2 weeks,
for another 10 days or so.
So here we are, because Boat was in no condition to record this week or get up and do anything. I mean, he's in real bad shape. But I mean, the good news is he's fine. He's there's not any complications.
Recovering.
Went well.
Shouldn't have any permanent damage, that sort of thing.
But there's probably a likelihood that we'll be running this ship this weekend, next week, I would say.
Well, and I'm happy to fill in.
Yeah. So luckily Brent, who amazingly healthy as a horse, every bit as attractive and handsome. He stepped in here to play the game. Of course, we had plenty of notice, thankfully, and I was raring to go to play some more Amiga after the 24 hours. I was like, oh boy, especially this game, which we actually played on the Amigathon. But so anyway, to summarize, I really enjoyed the event for the most part.
Oh yeah,
it had its highs and lows, like I said.
Maybe next year. Maybe 16 hours.
Yeah, I don't want to think about next year right now. But really, it was. I told this to Bo. It's really, we were just there lingering around. Really, every one of y'all that saw fit to sponsor us or to get involved financially,
game challenges,
or even if you just hung out.
Sure.
Listen, hey, sometimes you just don't have it to give. You know what I'm saying? And that's the way it is. And listen, no one knows that more than me and the good, fine people of West by God, Virginia. We know. And so, there's no sour grapes or bad feelings.
Oh, no. People coming around giving moral support and spreading the word.
We needed the moral support. We really did. We'd look over at the chat and be like, oh, thank God. So, what we're going to do, people have asked, because I guess as we were streaming it, once the stream cut out originally, that's all that's available on YouTube to look at right now. Well, we are in the process Unfortunately, when Boat's computer died, the data on it was still on it, but we managed to get off. We'll get it all off because it's on an external driver at Boat's house. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to chop up the event hourly, and I even do a little host segment in between. And I'm sure Boat will end up shooting a couple of these host segments, and we're just going to release them a couple every week, and that way it'll all get put up. 24 hours. I mean, really 22 plus hours of video. So there's that part that where the modem was down where there's no video. But the rest of it, if I don't think there's video of that, there could be. I don't know.
You know what? I don't think he stopped capturing.
Yeah, that would be entertaining. An hour of us panicking. Actually, you see 40 minutes of me sitting on the couch eating pizza and being like, well, what are you going to do? Oh, that's the way it goes. This is horrible. But we'll be putting those up in hourly chunks. Like I said, we'll probably put up 1 or 2 a week, or maybe, who knows, depending on how we feel that week. We might put more. So you'll get to see them if you're into watching it. And, I mean, it's worth watching. For the most part, things run good. We have a few microphone issues here and there. The camera's in the wrong angle. But the good thing about having a live chat room is they had the ability to go like, hey, idiots! So we'd be like, whoa, okay. And we'd fix it. So a good time was had by all.
Yeah.
And
oh, yeah, the event was great. The time I was there, I bailed out early because I did not properly prepare for the event by any means.
Tell them what early is, by the way.
Well, I was there for 12 and a half hours.
He was there from 8 in the morning or about 8:30 to about 9 or 10. 9, yeah. So Brent served he came in and I didn't think you were going to say that. I couldn't believe you showed up that early. I was stunned that you got there that early.
Yeah.
Then again, I knew the pizza might get you out of the house and so.
Hey, I love Papa John's.
And boy, I'm trying to think who we had visit the studio. Of course, we had Terry was there, your wife, and
my son.
and Christian was there. And then we had my kid Luke and Tree were there for a little while, and then Hose stopped by, a very rare Hose appearance. He was there for quite a while.
He was, man, and he was good spirits, having a good time.
And of course, the Chad Wilcox in the house, he was there. Of course, John was there. Am I forgetting anybody?
Teresa's mom.
Oh yeah, my girlfriend's mom was there briefly. I hope we didn't forget anybody. I think that's everybody that was there.
I think that's everyone that stopped by. Yeah.
So.
Well, and Eep.
Oh yeah, Eep. Ben Eep also set us up with some great.
Oh
eats.
my gosh, yeah.
So that was nice.
On top of all the other food, she provided more food.
Her patented chicken wings, which they're good.
Man, let's have another Amiga-thon right now.
No, God, I don't know about that, man. I don't know. So, anyway, look for those new, retrospective Amiga-thon videos. There should be one up right now, and probably another one coming anytime.
There you go.
So there you go. And if you want to watch the first chunk, it's still lingering around there if you've got it on your list. We haven't taken it down or anything.
Well, I think we've avoided it for as long as possible.
Yeah. So, what do you think about Amiga-thon? Okay, so let's have a look at this week's game. And we've got a real winner here, folks. And now this is a mixed bag game. We shouldn't be killing it right now.
Oh, no, it's...
So, we're going to look at Jurassic Park AGA. Now, we're going to actually sort of look at just Jurassic Park in general, but we were specifically looking at the AGA version. That's what I looked at. Is that the one you had to look at?
No.
Okay, that's okay. I mean,
I looked at the better one.
So, this was released in the UK for the AGA machines in October of 1993. And then by April of 94, they released the ECS version for the Amiga 500, 600, and whatnot in the UK. And then the game and it wasn't released in the US until a year after that. So weird release. This came on 4 discs, right?
Really? Mine had 5.
Really? Well, I mean, the AGA version has 4 discs.
Mine had 5.
Really?
Weird. Okay, go on.
This was put together by Ocean, and of course Ocean is well known for their many licensed games. They did, just to name a couple, RoboCop and Navy SEALs.
They
did a ton of stuff, and so this was right up their alley. This actually also came out on the PC.
Yes.
Which I didn't know that.
Yeah, the DOS version. Yeah.
And
Not good.
That's really the only games. There were a ton of Jurassic Park games released, and there were a ton of games released at this time, but they weren't the same game.
The NES one was pretty close.
It's not the same, though. It's not the same. It's a little different. I'll watch some footage of it, you know. So, let's talk about Jurassic Park, the actual game. Now, for starters, you'd be surprised. I was surprised I was doing research on this thing. Like, how much actual... this was not your classic, oh, it's a license, throw it out there. We'll get it. We'll,
no.
You know, they actually spent some money making this thing.
Yeah, they really tried.
Development for the game began in November of '92, so they didn't rush it out. And this is something that really blew my mind. They had 13 people on the development team, which that's a lot of people on one of these old games. 13 people is a massive amount. They even had Steven Spielberg come checking on it, like he was hands on, you know. Which I've heard that about Spielberg. Apparently he games or did game, which is kind of cool. And so when Jurassic Park was coming out, you know, the team had access to still photos for the movie and
concepts,
music and stuff like that to see what was going to happen. So something else I think that's interesting about this is the fact that there are parts of the game that are not mentioned in the movie, but were from the book, the Jurassic Park book.
Huh.
Just like a couple. There's a couple things in it that were from the book, which I thought was interesting. I guess that got over people. You know, that Spielberg was into that. I guess it's some stuff they didn't get to put into the movie, so it's kind of neat. So let's try to summarize what this game is. The game itself is mostly, well, it's really two games in one, sort of, isn't it? There's a top-down view, and then there's this sort of a first-person. I don't want to say shooter, but like a
Doom style, Wolfenstein style.
I would say you go back further than that. I mean, this is like your basic. I mean, it's a. I guess the Wolfenstein 3D would be a closest, probably facsimile of it.
Well, here's the thing: you've got your sprite-based game, which is a top-down, really pick up and search type of game because you have to find a lot of objects.
Let's go with action adventure.
No.
Well, you don't think so?
No. But
action exploration. How about that?
There you go. And it focuses on your character unlocking doors, picking up enough of this level's objects. You know, you have a gun and you have your little stun rifle that you use to fight off the dinosaurs. It's a large scrolling map for each of these, and I think there's 5 or 6 different variations.
There's a lot. So,
and then in between those, or really more sandwiched, there's one in towards the beginning, and then the ending is a Wolfenstein / Doom, because it's not really Wolfenstein, because some of the sprites are not just front-facing sprites. The dinosaurs actually have multiple facings.
Yeah.
But they're not 3D.
Right. But it's pretty impressive, actually.
With the exception, it is the smallest draw distance of this type of game.
We've looked at some pretty bad attempts at that, so I was pretty impressed.
I thought RoboCop did this sort of thing better.
RoboCop was it 2 or 3?
3.
That was we didn't look at that during the Amigathon. That was more impressive.
Yeah.
So to nail it down, you play a Dr. Alan Grant. Now, first of all, have you seen Jurassic Park?
Of course.
Okay, I saw it years ago.
Yeah.
And as just a little token, I hate this movie because my roommate at the time, when it came out on video cassette, had this, and she played 2 or 3 things in this VCR on a loop. The VCR would stop, it would rewind and play it again, and this was one of them. And I would sit in my room trying to sleep and hear Jurassic Park playing over and over. That music, it's ingrained into my psyche. You know, it was that, and she had a tape full of Beavis and Butthead. She'd play that over and over. And I was just like, And I didn't hate Beavis and Butthead, but you can't stand it over and over. So this game, really, don't get me wrong, when it came out in the theater, I was like, man, look at the special effects. These dinosaurs are real-looking dinosaurs. It was amazing at the time. But once you see the movie, I just didn't think that it flowed that well to me. I know people loved it. It made a zillion dollars.
Well, I'm actually sort of in your corner. I'm not a huge fan of this movie. I understand the hype. And I'm not even saying, oh, it's a crap movie. It just didn't click with me.
Right.
I mean, the movie's good.
You know, now have you seen the sequels?
I have seen the first 3, so
really
up to World. But they all been sort of in passing. No theater. You know, someone else was watching it, and I sat on a couch in the same room type of affair.
You know, just to touch on it, I had a look just for fun. But this came out in June of '93. Okay, so I'm talking about the movie.
Yeah.
Now keep in mind the game came out here in October. I think pretty good.
Yeah.
So pretty close. Because
Yeah.
often they miss. So they only spent $63 million on this movie, which if you think of it now, back in those days, that's a lot. But
yeah.
This thing at box office $1.02 billion worldwide.
Oh, yeah.
That is one hell of a return on $63 million investment. Yeah. I mean, this thing made a fortune. It was one of the first handful of movies that topped that $1 billion mark. So, Ocean probably, I don't know what they paid for this license, but I'd say they probably, unlike RoboCop where they snuck it in, I'd say they paid a pretty penny for this one.
They probably had a premium.
Everyone knew this was going to be a hit.
Yeah.
So, anyways, as I was saying, you play Dr. Alan Grant, who is a paleontologist, and he's trapped in the park.
Yeah.
And Jurassic Park, if you haven't seen the movie, is a theme park stupidly put together by an idiot who thought, let's have a theme park where we're re-engineered genetically live dinosaurs. What could go wrong? And then let's put it on an island where you can't get off of it. You're basically boned.
Well,
and boned you are in
better
this game.
put it on the mainland.
Well, I mean, at least you could escape, you know.
So could everything else.
Can you believe this
Which
could
happened
happen? Can you believe
later.
this could happen? That someone would. And the thing is, apparently, when the book was written, he took a lot of time to scientifically. He went and visited a bunch of geneticists and stuff. I mean, he really did his homework on it. Have you ever read the book?
Oh, no.
It was based on a book by Michael Crichton. He also helped do the screenplay. So this was his baby, basically. And what a crazy idea. And of course, at the time, people thought, we could probably do this, and there's still a chance. I mean, you always hear about the woolly mammoth genetic material and stuff that we're going to try to. And I think they should go for it. I bring back everything, but I mean, I just don't know amusement park. That's out. So you're trapped in the park here, and you're also looking for Lex and Tim, the grandchildren of the guy that owns the park.
Yeah.
All right. So that's a key element to the game, is that you have to find these idiot kids who get lost a couple times in the game, and you have to go hunting them out. So let's talk about the first level and really the bulk of the game, where you are looking at the map overhead. It's a pretty good size. It's a large map,
huge.
actually, and
it's huge.
On the first level, you are armed with depending on what your ammo situation is, you either have a gun or a sort of like a taser type of lightning gun or whatever, and you roll around. And what you're trying to do is look for information, figure out what's going on, and at some points look for these kids. And as you move around the map, critters come after you. You've got dragonflies, and you've got
little dinosaur themed enemies.
There's 5 or 6 different types of dinosaurs that come after you, and you zap them. So another thing in this game, you're killing dinosaurs left and right.
Oh the body count's high.
Yeah. So you run around this big map. That's the big chunk of the game. I'm trying to think what we could compare this to in a gameplay way. I mean, it was sort of like, I want to say, I don't know. It's hard to compare it to anything, really. I mean,
it is.
But I mean, it's not that novel a concept. In fact, I think it's a pretty basic concept. The map is multi-tiered. So when you go up a level, you could fall back down. But when you fall back down, you have to go find the ramp or steps or whatever to get out of that little area. So I mean, you can still see it. It just isn't like written. It's drawn in a 3D way.
Right.
So along the way, you'll come across these like towers, basically, and you can log into them. This I have to say, I like this concept. Normally, I'm into this whole like a BBS sort of thing, but this thing, talk about grinding the action to a halt. This right here, but what they do is they feed you plot, in text form at these little terminals that you find. You can also use them to like to turn stuff off.
You have to go to
or get a rudimentary map of the area.
A real rudimentary map.
Real rudimentary map. And so they'll feed you some of the game text, right? Okay, hey, here's what's happening.
Yeah,
and I mean it's a long read. Some of this stuff, you're just like
some of them.
But I mean, there's no action.
But I mean, you have to. They're plot essential in that you have to go to them to unlock doors.
Yeah, and you also get messages from them, that sort of stuff. And sometimes you have to have a key card, so you know what that means. Time to go hunt the key card.
That's the whole game. That's the whole game.
I mean, it is. This is sort of like a very. I mean, since we just did it, it's sort of like a massive. No, it wouldn't even. I don't know what you compare. I was going to say Wolfenstein, but it's not really.
No,
but I mean, Wolfenstein 2 had key cards.
But it has. It also has some puzzle elements because you have to. Object A will interact uniquely with Object B. For example, you have to unlock in the first level. You have to unlock the shed to get the tools. Then use the tools to cut open the sewer grate.
Yeah.
And it has.
And then you get to have a sewer level.
And the sewer level is still part of level 1.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's a separate map, though.
It is a separate map. But that's the whole game. It's finding out how items on the map interact with what the game wants you to do.
Yeah. I mean, that really is the map. I mean, the whole game. There are eight of these large areas.
Yeah.
And each one has
count the sewer,
a different sort of a theme. The one that was not in the movie but was in the book was the, Pteranodon. I'm going to try to pronounce this. Pteranodon. Pteranodon dome, which is like almost like a pterodactyl type thing.
Mm-hmm.
All the time you're always looking for tools, key cards. You're looking for these two stupid kids that get lost a couple times. That's a pain in the butt. How far did you get into this, by the way?
I got 2. I made it through the sewer level.
Yeah, I did too.
And I'm trying to think what was after that. Something hung me up. Oh, collecting the berries.
Yeah, that's exactly where I got killed.
And really, it was. I did die, but I had been sitting there so long, running around the map looking for little dots. Essentially, I was like, you know what? I'm done. I was like, I don't even care anymore.
Yeah. And did you get? So did you get to see of the Wolfenstein style?
No.
Yeah, I didn't either. So I had to cheat. Get those. This thing. I was able to skip around.
Well, it has a pass game system.
So that thank God I got to look at look at everything else. I think Brent sort of nailed my feelings down pretty well. Is the game attractive? Yes.
It's beautiful.
It's a beautiful game. Colorful.
Beautiful sprites.
It's got decent
dinosaurs.
music and sound.
Yeah, and it's intense music when it needs to be intense. Sound effects are okay. They're not great, but they're good enough.
They've got dinosaur-y sounds.
Yeah.
And a lot of insects, are chirping and whatnot. So the problem is these beautiful levels in the 3D, which is pretty novel. Are they fun? And the answer to that question for me is no. I just did not find them. I didn't like the way the enemies came out. I thought they were a little bit cheap.
Yeah.
The dragonflies were a monumental pain in the butt. Now, this is one of those games. It's an action game, but it's not. I mean, really, to play this game, you sort of have to creep around.
Well, you have to
slaughter everything slowly, and then it comes back. By the way, and creep through the game and be very meticulous as to where stuff is. So, the stuff's in a different place. You have to get it. You have to You have to be very slow. You can't just run through this like an action game. I couldn't anyway.
Now, see, I played it 100% different.
Okay.
I killed almost nothing.
Really?
And I ran from point to point. And the only time I would stop, because there's enough health, at least in the beginning of the game, and I know towards the end of the game it's not as true, because I watched a whole playthrough of this.
Yeah.
There's enough health that if you just bully through, if you're quick, you run your diagonals, because diagonals run faster, you can outrun pretty much everything in the game. And if you just keep doing that, you don't get to enjoy it as much, because you're just running around, but you can get what you need to be doing done quicker. I feel that this game had all the elements for a great game. It had beautiful graphics, it had good music, it had good sound, it had great attention to detail. I mean, some of the later levels, you're setting traps, like for when a T-Rex is going to chase you, so you set a trap down that when you jump over this ditch, you light it on fire so he can't chase you anymore. In the second level, you gather berries, and the whole reason why you gather berries is to throw down in front of a large dinosaur to distract it while it's eating, so you could sneak by.
Right.
Concepts like that were really good.
Yeah, there's a light puzzle element to
There
it.
is.
Yeah.
There is. Oh, and it's how does this item interact with your problem? Where the game fails, in my opinion, is first off and foremost, the absolute biggest problem is you get zero direction. You are dropped into the level. You aren't told, go save the kids. You aren't told you need to go and find the tool shed. You aren't told even you need to go to the sewer grate. You are just dropped into the level, and if you don't find one of the information towers, you're really boned, because you are literally just roaming around with zero direction. No map, no sense of direction. You're just killing enemies. You feel lost, and you get lost because the boards are so massive. They are incredibly massive for a game of this type.
Yeah, they're big, and there's not really a map except for when you go to the terminal.
And that's
the terminal
not a map.
is literally
It's
basic
just a square.
It's just like a picture with like A, B, R, like the
Yeah.
key. And what I like is the key is not even part of the map. You've got to go to a separate thing to see the key,
Yeah.
and so you can't see the map when you're looking at the key. It's like that was
It's
13 people can figure that out. Come on, you know what I'm saying?
It is astonishing to me, because this game gets universally panned
Well, no, that's
by players. By players,
Oh.
I know they probably greased a few palms to get the scores up in the books, but by players, this game is universally panned, and it's because it's hard.
It's not aged well. I mean, it's currently paying, that's for sure. A lot of people pick on it.
Well, it's also incredibly difficult. The enemy types, if you do try to fight them, some of them will have range attacks, so you have to get up close to them, and they will sap your energy in a heartbeat, because you don't have any invincibility frames, or I guess you do, but they're so short-lived you might as well not have them. So if you have a dinosaur that runs in top of your sprite and moves around with you a little bit, it really saps your health. The addition of the 3D levels, I think they should have stopped or kept the same concept as they did with the first one. The first one is very short. It's a slight maze, but it does have a map on the side that you can kind of follow.
It's still confusing.
It is, yeah.
Those levels are very tedious to me and confusing.
Well, the first one is fairly short. The end of the game, I guess they were trying to ramp up the action. So the last 1/5 of the game is played in the 3D element, where you are traversing huge, massive, mind-blowingly large maps and continuously being attacked by raptors that absolutely demolish your health.
Those little things are annoying.
Oh, in the 3D levels, they're mad. They're
Oh,
big
yeah,
things.
yeah.
And it takes a game that was already sliding downhill for being too difficult and makes it nearly impossible.
Yeah, it's
the
tough.
last levels they're so big. They're with so many respawning enemies. I mean, most people don't get there to even see it unless they pass code to it.
Yeah.
But the last 3D level has like 6 or 7 passcodes in it alone.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. That's insane.
You gotta have many a card.
Oh my
You know,
gosh.
I mean, listen, I'll try to look at this from a different vantage, because I agree with everything you said. Everything, and which is unusual for us. But, if I had bought this, in terms of the story is not knowing what you're doing, I'm assuming that something in documentation would give you a hint, alright?
Well, the game sure does.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm just saying, I didn't look at the docs. If I was someone that bought this back in the day, this is a AAA title for the Amiga back in the day.
Yeah.
And if you bought this, I don't think you would be as disappointed because of the width and breadth of the game. It's a large game. It'll take you. You're not going to whip through this thing in 10 minutes. I mean, it's going to take you a long time. The passcode system makes it easy to swap around. It's your game. You can. I'm sure those codes came out almost instantly when the game came out, and so you can, if you want to see all the levels, you can. I mean, if I'm someone that buys this at home, I feel like I'm getting a decent value because I'm going to get to dope around on all these different levels if you're a real big fan of the game. If you flash forward to 2018, which is what the date we're recording this, these games just don't seem as much fun because we've seen much better versions of run around and shoot stuff games. We've seen way better versions of 3D. The 3D concept can't be overlooked because at the time that was a very novel concept.
Yeah. I'm sure it sold copies.
And so there's elements of this that make me understand why that and there are people that like this game. It's not like it's universally hated or anything. By Amiga users anyway. For example, on a Lemon, the AGA version, this has a 6.19 rating. Not a great rating, but it's not like the dirt worst. And I'd say 6 out of 10 or a 5. It would be
I think
within
5
the
is
realm
about
of where I
put
would
it.
go. The ECS version has a little over 5 of this. But when this was released, this game was actually pretty popular. I mean, it was. Well, I mean, the scores are all over the board. So let's look at them. Amiga Dream looked at this in '94, gave it a 92%. They were very impressed. Amiga Force gave it a 69. Amiga Format gave it a 70. Amiga Joker a 65. Amiga Power a 71. And the One an 89. Amiga Computing a 72. Do you see a trend here? Amiga Format looked at it again and upped it, scored a 75 and 95. That's kind of weird that it would go up. So you're looking at a lot of scores there in the 70s and a couple in the 80s. And then there's that one anomaly from Amiga Dream. They gave it a 92. So the game was fairly popular. Well, it got decent scores. The critics, again, this was released on the PC as well. It got good scores on the PC actually, and apparently it sold pretty well. This has been called the most beautiful game on the Amiga. I dispute that, but it's been called that. The guy from Amiga Power said that.
I mean, it looks nice, but
He also said it was tedious and boring. Tedious being the key word there. It was. The sound I liked. Except the music I thought was good.
Oh, the music was
music was real
above
good.
average for sure. The sound was about average.
The DOS version of this,
It's horrible.
yeah, it didn't do that well. It was DOS, and it wasn't. Basically, people couldn't. Pretty much thought this thing couldn't decide if it was an action game or a puzzle game. And really, it is skirt the line of puzzle game.
See, I there are parts where you're taking a rock or a box and you're using it as a step. That I can kind of see as puzzly, but for me, it's a lot of find object A to use on object B, which I don't consider a puzzle.
So overall, I think we pretty much agree on this one, don't we?
I think it's a middle of the road game. That really had all of the aspects of a really good game, but just did not execute them well.
I think this is one of those games you would load up at one of the users group meetings to show off your Amiga, and then once it starts up and you show them a couple things, you show them the 3D level, you don't let them play it. You show it to them, you're like, look at this. All right, let's move on. Let's see what Cyanosis has got going on.
Yeah.
Let's watch the intro to Blood Money. You know what I'm saying?
That's it.
Stuff like that. I looked this up on the eBay. You can get this for a song. I saw these go, the AGA version, sealed. You can get it from Greece right this moment, $8. Sealed.
Wow.
And $12 or less in the UK all day. So,
I figure they produced a bajillion of these.
and I'm pretty sure this got a, well, I know it got North American release, but I didn't see any North American ones up currently, but probably wouldn't be that hard to get.
I think the one I played was German, so there you go.
Oh, yeah, there you go. So, a good game, not let's go with an average game.
It was an average game, yeah.
Yeah. So, all that in mind, let me whip out the Amiga, the Gambletron here. And first thing we're going to do, again, Bo would make sure I drove this home. Thank you very much for the amount of money that was donated. It was
crazy impressive
for a good cause. And now we're going to look at the Patreon folks who keep the lights on. We got a Patreon here, yeah. And if you want to toss us a buck or two to keep it going, we would appreciate it. If you can't do it, no biggie. But
and all the money goes right back into the show. Amiga Studios East, which we are in now, it's coming along. We could certainly use with a few bips and
we're in
boops.
good shape, except for the boat has the really nice mic. I'd like to get one of those. That's about it.
I mean, but we certainly don't take this money and party and.
Oh yeah, I'm really partying. So I've got the entire Patreon list here, and Brent's gonna wrap it. Go ahead, man.
Boom! I'll give you a beat. How about that?
No, don't give me a beat. So I'm gonna thank all of our fine supporters here, the best way I can, which is mispronouncing your names and butchering them in some horrible way.
Well, there you go.
So we'd like to thank Barkbit, Zeb Kiernan, Roland Burke, Andrew Monks, Joe the Zombie, which was responsible for, I believe he was responsible for, was that the fellow that was responsible for the zombie hour?
I do believe so. And you know
We've
what?
got a couple zombies, so I don't want to get the two zombies mixed up.
That zombie block made me want to try a few
We
games.
had to dig up a couple, at least one of those ADS that I didn't have. So yeah, we tried definitely. I think everything in that was pretty much new. I don't think I played any of that stuff. John Cook, Dan Ross, Leif Kelland. I feel like Boat now. I can get into it because I've heard him say it 3 times. Alan Kebab, Donald Tyler, Level Lord, John Marshall, the Pizza Connection, Matthew Perron, Ricky DeRocher, Creepy Dead Boy. It's creepy and dead.
Sorry, I'm amusing myself.
Is that what you're doing? Figgy, CTZ, the Fig, the Slow Norris, Stefan Sogard Mortensen, the man with a cool name, Edvin Helen, Blindo 75, Christopher Hassel, Ravi Abbott. We love the Rav and his show. Chris Folds, the Dream Catcher, Laurent Giroux, Graham W. Webke. We love him, the Graham. We love all these guys. Some jerk named Brent. Toss him a good job, bud. Woo! Keep the checks coming.
Yeah.
Lane Denson, Adam Battersby, O'Brien's Retro and Vintage, a fine store, yes. Gary Hucker, the Huck, C. Brian James, Paul Harrington, Duncan Stiles, Alan Kebab, Anthony Jarvis, Tapes from the Crypt, the Tape Man, Josh Nan, got a plan, Adam Bradley, Jonas Rulo, THT, Speculate on the meaning, Eric Nelson, Kim, Tommy, Holberstadt, very impressive, Daniel Binkston, the brutal one himself, Brutal Barracuda. Oh, that reminds me of something else we need to mention. Speaking of brutal, we'll get back to that. Darren, King Coles. Jason Warrens, Programmer Extraordinaire. Pixels at Dawn. And Kilborn Barman. And let's not forget our newest contributor, Colin 419. He's from the 419, yo. He may be, I don't know. Maybe that could be his birthday. You never know. Maybe that's his given name. You know, I don't know.
Colin, let us know.
Yeah. So the brutal one, a video that I did forget to put up. He put up. We should mention this. We have achieved what I consider an incredible feat, and our YouTube page has over 1,000 subscribers, and it happened. I think that almost the exact day of the Amigathon. 1,000 subscribers. That's right. So the brutal one put together a video of, and all it is just me saying wacky. Now, I didn't realize that I said that much. But, I mean, it says it probably 100 times in this video.
It's so well edited. And it's beautiful.
So, I will endeavor to be less wacky in the future.
No, he said, don't change a thing.
I don't think I can change. It's a sad thing.
You can't.
I did notice that I had a lot of different hairstyles and beards in that video, none of which worked. It's over for me in that regard. But special thanks to the brutal one. I'll also note that as of today, we are at, and this is even maybe a bigger miracle than the 1,000 YouTube subscribers, we are at 299 Google Plus subscribers.
Whoa!
No mean feat to attract people to
something.
that format. And
when you can get to nigh on 300 of such a ridiculously dead platform, impressive.
Yeah. You know, it's funny. The people often ask me, why do you put all your news and stuff up on Google Plus? Well, it's one simple reason. It's because I can access that from work. You know, I couldn't get on Facebook, and they have a lot of stuff blocked. You know, but that Google Plus I could get on. And at the time, I thought, well, Google Plus is pretty good. And so, and people get on there, you know, clearly. So
Sure.
I feel, you know, it's pretty good.
Hey,
so,
you got to spread yourself out, right?
Oh yeah, I can spread myself out all over the place.
There you go.
But anyways, so thanks for helping us reach that milestone of 1,000 plus YouTube subscribers. We've actually moved into the 30s. The 1,038, I think, is what it was when I looked last time. So, listen, if you follow YouTube at all, you'll know that they've set a restriction for monetizing your YouTube videos. You have to have 1,000 subscribers, and you have to have a certain amount of hours viewed. So even if you get 1,000 subscribers, if your videos aren't getting viewed, you're boned.
Right.
And so, now don't get me wrong, we make zero money on YouTube. We don't get that much, but we do have, now at least we qualify, which is nice. And plus, we actually have double the amount of view hours that you need to qualify. So we were killing it there the whole time. So at least our stuff, someone's watching it, you know.
That's it.
I looked, and the amount of time the amount of hours spent watching the Amigathon was unbelievable. I mean, it was unbelievable. I think we had 1,400 people watching it, and the amount of hours, it was like, I mean, this is going to sound ludicrous, but it was like thousands of hours of people watching this content.
You know, you should put together a little statistic package. I bet people would be interested in
I'm
that.
not the guy to do that.
Oh, man, I dig that kind of stuff.
Well, you jump right in, pal.
Yeah.
So, what's next week's game, Brent? That's right. We don't know. And Bo may have told me, but I don't remember it, and he may not have told me. I'm not sure. So we will be back next week with. I'm sure it'll be a winner.
Yeah, you know,
It may be Yo Joe. I believe someone picked that one. I think that, but I don't want to say it and it not be there. Well, I guess I did.
You just did.
Well, what are you gonna do? So we'll probably take it to the house. You got any final parting thoughts, Brenny?
You know, I appreciate being asked to come on and take part in these things.
Violently forced.
But John will be back soon, so
Absolutely. Get well soon, Boat.
if you want to keep watching me, I have usurped him in the ARG Presents format.
Part of the reason he's ill. It was so beat down from the battle over ARG that he's not really. But
so you can catch me for probably at least one more week here, and then if you like my lovely voice, you can keep listening to me and watch me on YouTube over at ARG Presents.
That's right. So we will call it there, and until next week,
Adios.